So when it comes to our meta weight, meta waist training allows you to focus on burning off calories anywhere, anytime. Having persuasive copy on your store, whether that's through your description as well as your ad copy, can persuade that potential customer to, convert on your store. So when it comes to Yes. So in terms of when it comes to persuasive copy, just having that filled throughout your store, whether that's through CTAs, through your descriptions, maybe your landing page, having those set up as well as utilizations of your product. So for instance, just a quick GIF on, how the product works, the functionality of the product. It just goes well with the whole theme of, transforming your body to what you would like. So for instance, start your journey. Also more persuasive copy to get the customer more, emotional, get them more resonating with your product and how it could convenience them into, transformation that they would like to see. So for instance, start your journey or improve your physique. So for instance, on a regular website, you'll most likely see a button here that says shop now. That's pretty general in terms of what every other store has. So in terms of persuasive copy to, of course, getting your customer more resonated with your product at hand. So for instance, start your journey. Of course, then you would have detailed product descriptions on how your product works, how your product can, help customers achieve that goal. And if you can walk through customers on achieving that goal, it will just make the conversion process so much easier. So when it comes to, of course, doing your market research, analyzing competitors within your brand that may be selling within the same niche or within the same product, understanding how their ads work, as well as how their store is, structured. That way you can understand what you're getting into when it comes to the market you're jumping into. So was there any questions on that process before we move forward to the TikTok ads?
I have a question about the lead magnet.
Yes.
So to set the one that you showed has the email, like people can put in their email, but what about the SMS? Would you like do that together, like email and like put in your email or your phone number or both, or how would that work?
So in terms of email and SMS, I do recommend bundling them both on the welcome flow pop-up, mainly because SMS is a great way to, get customers back to your store. So for instance, people who open up their messages 10 times more often than they email. So 10 times more often than the email, they're more likely to open that message, mainly because you see a message is right in your face. You immediately open it. So when it comes to setting up those welcome flow pop-ups with SMS, I definitely do recommend that. One app you can use is Privy. So Privy is one of the apps from the Shopify web store that you can use to set up your emails as well as your SMS, as well as that welcome flow pop-up and all together.
Do you recommend that more than Klaviyo?
So when it comes to your email automation, I recommend Klaviyo, but when it comes to the welcome flow pop-up, I recommend Privy, mainly because there's more customization in terms of that welcome flow pop-up.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
But I do recommend Klaviyo to set up the rest of your flows in terms of the abandoned cart, as well as the browse abandonment, maybe the welcome series. But I would recommend Privy for the initial pop-up.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Wait, wait, sorry, one more question. Would Privy and Klaviyo like synchronize together so that they're functioning off the same email list, or people would need to put their email into the Privy pop-up and then the Klaviyo pop-up?
Yes. So in terms of these are separate companies, unfortunately, but when it comes to the same list, you also have the list. So in terms of the access to the list, you can use the list both on Klaviyo as well as Privy. You would just have to, export the emails to Klaviyo.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions before we get into the process? No questions. Sounds good. Sounds good. So when it comes to setting up those initial testing campaigns for your TikTok, whether that's let's see, for instance, let me move this around. Okay, so when it comes to setting up those initial campaigns, ads.tiktok.com is where you would most likely be working from, operating out of when it comes to those campaigns. So when it comes to setting up one of these accounts, it's pretty straightforward. You come to ads.tiktok.com and sign up for an account, as well as create what's called an ad account. So an ad account is, a sub account inside of the TikTok account. That way, inside of the ads manager account. So ad accounts are what connects your store to your ad account, your ads manager. That way you can accurately track the metrics based off of how your store is performing. So for instance, on the TikTok ads dashboard, this is a fresh ad account. Today will show you how much you've been spending today, ads that are active, maybe ads that have been disapproved in terms of violating the company policies, as well as the metrics based off of what your ad campaign objective is. So for instance, conversions, it will show you the clicks, the impressions, as well as the amount of calls your campaign. So for instance, impressions are the number of people who have seen your ad. So for instance, if you are running TikTok ads, people who are scrolling up and down TikTok feed, they will see your ad and it will show up as a impression. So in terms of clicks, this is the process of someone clicking on your ad, distributing that traffic to your landing page. So for instance, when it comes to setting up those initial campaigns, you want to send traffic straight to the landing page. You don't want to send it to the home page, collection page, about us page. You definitely want to send it to the home page. That way it just, that way it slows down. It doesn't slow down the customer in terms of the conversion process. When it comes to your content, you want to accurately perceive what your product does. That way, as soon as they get to your store, they already have a feel for what they're interested in. And then when it comes to the landing page, it will be your job to accurately describe what they can expect when it comes to purchasing your product. So yes, when it comes to the TikTok Ads Manager, the first thing you would do is, I would say, set up these ad accounts. That way you can set up your pixel. So your pixel is the tool that you will use to track metrics based off the metrics I was just speaking on. So for instance, coming over to assets, and then under the assets, the first one will be events. Events is where you will be setting up that pixel. So for instance, web events, click on manage. So here is where all of your pixels will show up in terms of the pixels you do have created based off this ad account. You can have as many pixels as you want, I believe. But when it comes to having that pixel set up, that's definitely a must before running those ads. So when it comes to setting up that pixel, you want to hit set up web events, create pixel. So when it comes to selecting a method for installation, what I recommend is partner setup. That way, it's just an easy, quick process in terms of connecting that to your Shopify store. When it comes to manual setting up, you have to insert code into the Shopify website. It's just more complicated. So when it comes to partner setup, come over to choose a partner. Of course, you want to use the e-commerce platform that you are working with. For instance, today will be Shopify. Next. So this pixel is created. Now the next step would be connecting it to your Shopify. So for instance, open up the Shopify app. We already have it open, but it will open your Shopify app. Next thing you would do is come over to the apps. It should be on your main dashboard, apps, and typing in apps will bring you to the Shopify web store. So when it comes to the Shopify web store, you want to download the TikTok app. There's a lot of apps, different apps you can that shows up, but you really want to download the official TikTok app. I already have it downloaded, but you just hit download, open that. And once you have that downloaded, it will show up in your sales channel. So right over top of the apps where it says online store, the arrow under sales channel, all of your installed sales channels will show up here. So for instance, you have Google, TikTok. If you have Facebook ad setup, Facebook will show up here as well. But for instance, we have TikTok. today. Yes, so when it comes to, I already have the pixel set up, unfortunately, but when it comes to TikTok, it will say set up marketing. So when it comes to setting up that initial pixel, initial pixel, right here, it will say set up marketing. And what you would do is just sign in with the ad account that you just created. That way you can connect all of the accounts and have everything set up in terms of the pixel. I really would like to show you that process, but when it comes to marketing, so for instance, come over to overview settings, it will come to marketing, ads manager account, you want to have that set up, as well as the payment method. And when it comes to the data sharing, when I have that one on maximum, that way it's just in terms of the amount of reach a specific pixel can gather, all of the data, you want to have the maximum amount of data possible. So of course, your pixel will show up. So for instance, this is the one that we are using for today's account. And when it comes to running your first ads, you want to make sure the ad account matches up with the, as well as the pixel matches up with the one that's on your store. So you're not losing any traffic. Yeah, so after you finish that, you come over to assets and events, and your pixel should show up as active and tracking. So was there any questions on that pixel process?
Yeah, when you say pixel, Ja, you mean like a picture, or is it like the actual product, or what do you mean by pixel? My fault.
Yes, so pixel is just another word for, I mean, that's what they call it in terms of each marketing platform that you work with. But a pixel it's just code that's built inside of your site to track those metrics that are coming through to your store after you're running ads. So for instance, so when it comes to the pixel, excuse me, you want to learn more about it, of course, you can come over here to learn more. There's a lot of information inside of the TikTok ads manager that you can look over. That way you can get more familiar with the platform. So for instance, creating a TikTok pixel, it will show you under here as well.
So basically, it's just how everything's all connected. That's the code that connects to the Shopify.
Yes. So initially it is code, but you can use the Shopify to connect it in a simple way. But yes, it is a pixel that tracks the traffic going from in between the ad campaign and the store in terms of your Shopify store, if that makes sense.
Yeah, got it. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, so it should be set up after that process. Should show up right here. You want to make sure it is showing up right here before you, of course, get those initial campaigns live. So after you do that, when it comes to your campaigns, this is where you will be operating when it comes to those initial testing phases. Excuse me. So I will be walking you through the process of setting up that initial campaign. When it comes to campaigns, it's 3 different subsections of how a campaign is set up and what you would need. So for instance, once you do set up your ad account, it will ask you, do you want to run simplified mode or custom mode? So as you can see up at the top, simplified mode or custom mode. Custom mode gives you full control over the ad process in terms of setting up those campaigns. You really don't want to be limited in terms of, really don't want to be limited in terms of how you can access the ads manager. So always want to pick custom mode. It gives you full advantage of the platform. When it comes to your advertising objective, this is the objective of which you want your ads to be. So for instance, reach, traffic, video views, community interaction, app promotions, lead generation, website conversions, and product sales. So I have tried this product sales. It is in the beta testing phases at the moment. I wouldn't recommend starting out with this, mainly because it's a little buggy in terms of distributing traffic to your stores. Sometimes it would spend the whole budget in one day or spend the whole budget in a couple hours, and it's not really what you want. So when it comes to setting up those initial phases, what I would do is either website conversions or traffic. So each of these can distribute traffic to your store based off of customer demographics. And I'll be explaining that a little bit after. So for instance, website generation, website conversions. Yes, what I mean by demographic is TikTok and most marketing platforms have what's called demographics of buyers. So for instance, the viewers on or potential users on each marketing platform, they're placed in certain different demographics based off buyer's intent. So when the buyer's intent, people who bought from the platform before. So for instance, if you are running ads, that would be distributing a higher quality traffic to your store based off of those demographics. So for instance, driving valuable actions to your website. Excuse me. So when it comes to your campaign name, you definitely want to have organization in terms of, what you want your campaign name to be. It wants to be organized based off of exactly which campaign you are running. So for instance, for today's campaign, we will be running what's called a ABO. ABO is a campaign that is ran on the ad budget level or the ad set level, I would say ad group level. What that means is the campaign is spending the budget on a ad group level instead of a campaign level as a whole. So for instance, CBO, campaign budget optimization. If you were to click this, you would now be running a CBO campaign. So a CBO campaign is the opposite of an ABO campaign, which is spending the budget at a campaign level as a whole. So for instance, if you had 10 ad groups inside of a CBO campaign, and you had the budget at $50, it would just spend $50. It won't spend more than $50. It would just spend $50 mainly because that's where you have your budget set at. So for instance, for today, if we're running an ABO campaign, you have a different budget for each ad group that you set up. So for the campaign name, you want it specific. There we go. Move this out the way real quick. There we go. So when it comes to, of course, if you have the ABO, you won't have to set the budget at this moment. It will be once you're setting up these initial ad groups. So we'll get through that next. So you would like to hit continue. Then as the ad group name, you can have your ad groups name organized based off of maybe audiences you're targeting, maybe different ages, genders. It all depends on what you are targeting in terms of your specific audience. So when it comes to this campaign, we will be running 2 broad ad groups and 1 specific ad group targeting interest. So this one will be the interest campaign, the interest group, ad group. So for instance, waist trainer. Let's say 18 through 65. And we'll say, let's say we're targeting the US. So waist trainer, any age group, as well as the US in terms of the demographic. So when it comes to your optimization location, this is where you will be sending that traffic. As I was saying earlier, you definitely want to send them, send them straight to your landing page. That way, if they have buyer's intent, they can get straight to the process in terms of, purchasing and converting on the product you're selling. So like I said, you don't want to send them to the home page, collection page, contact page, about us page, anything that slows down a customer or creates that friction in between the ad that you have set up as well as converting on that store. So, of course, waist trainer 18 by 65 US. When it comes to the TikTok pixel, you want to select that pixel that we just set up, Meta Hoop US. And when it comes to the optimization event, there's a couple different events that, shows up when it comes to the main event of your campaign. So add to cart, view content, search, complete payment, as well as add payment info. So these are, determined based off of how fresh your ad account is. So for instance, if you do have a fresh ad account, no sales, no ads running, no campaigns running, I would go with the add to cart sale, the add to cart campaign event. That way, it's a little lower intent in terms of the optimization event. When it comes to completing payment, this is code for conversions. This is what TikTok calls it, complete payment. These are the more higher level buyer's intent optimization events that TikTok doesn't really give you access to in terms of when you start your fresh account. So when it comes to a fresh ad account, fresh pixel, you want to warm up with a add to cart campaign or view content. So this would be distributing your ads to potential customers who are placed inside of that demographic that has added a product to cart before, or viewing content, as well as complete payment. So each of these optimization events are based off of potential customers that you're looking to target. So add to cart for today, as well as your placements. So this is pretty important as well. When it comes to your placements, this is where TikTok will be placing your ad. So for instance, you want to hit select placement and uncheck Pangle, mainly because Pangle is a third-party app that you really probably won't see sales from. So I wouldn't waste money, waste ad spend on placing your ads here. You really want them in the original TikTok feed. So TikTok. And when it comes to the advanced settings, this is where a couple options you can leave off as well as leave on. So for instance, user comments, this meaning comments, potential customers or viewers of your TikTok ad can comment on your video or on your ad. There's pros and cons to this. It all depends on, of course, what product you're running, as well as the angle you're coming in terms of the marketing angle. So for instance, if you have a product or ad creative that creates controversy in terms of engagement, people want to talk about it, people run straight to the comments whenever they see your video, you could leave this on because it creates more engagement. Comments create engagement, likes, shares. It just overall boosts the content and the engagement on your feed, meaning distributing your ads in front of more faces. So when it comes to TikTok, as well as all auction-based platforms, all marketing platforms, they are what we call auction-based platforms, meaning you are bidding on the chance to have your product placed in front of customers' faces. So keep that in mind when it comes to learning the platform, running your ads. You are at competition with whether it's brands in your niche or brands running your specific product. So you are bidding on the impressions of a potential customer, as well as placing your product in front of a potential customer's face. So that all correlates with the budget as well. So for instance, if I'm in a fitness niche and one of my biggest competitors are in the fitness niche and we're selling maybe similar products, similar niches, whoever has the higher budget, as well as the higher quality traffic, will be pushed to, the front of the line in terms of getting your ads out there. Mainly because TikTok, like I said, is an auction-based platform. They will go with who's bringing them more revenue. So when it comes to a higher budget, how much you spend, they will prioritize based off of that, as well as the amount of traffic and quality of traffic that's coming to your store. So for instance, if you have a in between 3 to 5 conversion rate, that's pretty good in terms of Shopify. In between 3 to 5 conversion rate, TikTok will notice that based off the pixel, as well as the data that's been transferred from your ad campaign to your store. They will push your content based off of the metrics. So when it comes to user comment, like I said, if you have content or products that creates controversy, you can leave that on. So for instance, we will leave that off for today. as well as, video download. You really want to leave that off. You don't want anybody stealing your creative, stealing your videos, maybe setting up stories and using the videos for their own. You really don't want that. When it comes to video sharing, you can leave that on. Maybe a potential customer sends it to a parent, maybe a friend who would like to buy that for them. You really don't want to, limit that. All right, so we'll jump into the targeting portion of this ad group. This is where you would specifically dial in on customers within your niche or people who are actually interested in your niche. So when it comes to targeting, custom targeting, we have the demographics, we have the languages, we have the gender, we have the age. This can all, directly dial into a potential audience you're looking to sell in. So for instance, languages, if you are running an English store, you want to have English check. You really don't want people speaking other languages seeing your ads or seeing your content. It will just be wasted ad spend. So gender, what I recommend is keeping this broad, mainly because you really never know who might have interest in your product. I remember back in, 2021, when I was initially running ads for a women's jewelry store. It was doing pretty well on TikTok. We were focusing more on females in terms of the Google retargeting. And we ran a split test. So a split test is split testing two different campaigns or two different, what it really means, it really goes for anything. Split testing two different options on whether it's a campaign on your site, on your email marketing, it really goes for anything. Split testing in terms of which one works better, which one is bringing in the best performance. So for instance, we had split tested with males, females, as well as all, and all was bringing in the most results, mainly because males was buying women products for their spouses, as well as females were buying products for themselves. So it's no really, I wouldn't, limit who you're targeting in terms of gender. You really don't want to do that in terms of gender. In terms of the specific audiences, we can get into that pretty soon. But when it comes to the gender, we want to keep that broad unless you're specific about who your target customer is and if it's specific to one gender. Same thing for the age. When it comes to the age, anybody could have potential in your product, potential interest in your product, unless, of course, you are selling towards a specific niche. So for instance, let's say you're on Facebook and you're selling to maybe old people. You're selling to old people, then you could dial in on what age range you're looking to potentially sell to. But for now, we're going to keep that broad. Household income, TikTok doesn't really know that. That's pretty much a new feature in terms of that they just, introduced in terms of income bracket. Most people on TikTok aren't entering their income bracket when it comes to setting up an account. So the performance in that may be varying in terms of results you would see. So I would just keep that broad. So when it comes to your audiences, this is where you would create your lookalike audiences in terms of retargeting customers who've already seen your video. This is a fresh ad account. You can't do that, of course, until you have data on your traffic, data on your pixel, traffic to your store. Then after you could create those lookalike audiences. I will do that in the next class after these ads run for a couple of days. So when it comes to your interest and behavior, this is where you specifically dial in on what niche you're looking to sell in. So for instance, if you have a store centered around a specific niche, this is where you could dial in on those potential customers. So when it comes to your interests and behaviors, so for instance, we are in the fitness niche. We're looking to target customers who have a goal of losing weight, maybe goal of improving their fitness, improving their health. So we're going to dial in on that. So for instance, fitness, you can actually calculate the audience size. So for instance, on the side here, you will see available audiences, the amount of people that TikTok could potentially show your content to. As you choose niches and interests, as well as demographics, that number will go down. But in terms of the amount of people who could see your video, as long as you're over like 10 million, you should be good. So let's say fitness. Health and fitness, 66 million. Let's see.
How many of those topics should we be choosing?
So when it comes to topics or centered around your niche, you really want to keep it specific based off of what you're looking to sell. So you really don't want, I would say, cold traffic, mainly because cold traffic can lead to wasted ad spend. But also when it comes to it's specific on what product you're running. So for instance, this waist trainer we have set up for today to lose weight, I would say as many as you can when it comes to higher amount of audiences. So if it comes to in between under 100K or under 1 million, under 2 million, I would like to stay away from those. But when it comes to the interest, I would say in between 1 to 5. Let's say in between 1 to 5.
Got it. Okay.
So let's see. Do that too for now. So of course, this is one of the best features that TikTok has added since the ads manager have been out. I believe in 2020, they definitely didn't have this when it comes to this feature. So targeting expansion is, expanding on the interest that you have selected. So for instance, you're in the niche of health and fitness, weight loss journey, but you have a available audience of in between 60 to 75 million. Let's say you had a more specific interest you were looking to get into, more specific niche you were looking to target. The number could be well lower, but if you have targeting expansion active, what TikTok would do is dial in on that specific interest that you have selected. Then right after that, if they don't find any customers, maybe the traffic is a little cold, what they would do is go outside of the niche based off of the interest that you have selected. They would start to find customers outside of that niche, or maybe have similar interests in that niche. So for instance, people who are interested in health and fitness, weight loss journey, they may also be interested in sports and outdoors, maybe sports equipment. What the targeting expansion does is dials in on those interests, as well as expanding it back up to 100 million.
You said that audience, you want it to be above 100,000, up in the millions at least.
Yes, definitely over 5 million. That way TikTok has a big enough portion of potential customers to reach out to.
Right. Okay.
So next, we will have what's called the budget. So in terms of, like I said, we will be running a ABO, which in terms of ad budget optimization event. In terms of running the campaign and having the budget be spent on a ad group level. So in terms of daily budget, let's say for instance, $30 per ad group, and we have 3 ad groups. So for instance, that would be spending $90 a day, but it would be spending $30 in between each ad group. So when it comes to running your ad on a schedule, what I would like to do is go for the next day at 12 o'clock. So for instance, why I do this? Mainly because if I were to set up the ads at the moment, as you can see, it's 7:49 at the moment. TikTok would attempt to spend your whole budget in between now and before the day is over. And you really don't want that. You want a full 24 hours of spending. That way you can spend your budget wisely. So when it comes to either 12 o'clock or 8 o'clock. So 12 o'clock the next day or 8 o'clock the next day. I know in between 12 and 8, there could be some buyers late up at night who has that, potential buyer's intent. So having that at 12 to have a full 24 hours of spending could be beneficial. So when it comes to having your ads on a date range, you could also have specific dates and an end date. That way, for instance, if you're running testing campaigns, you want to specifically test a product or creative for a certain amount of days, you can specify when you want your ad to end. I remember one time back in 2019 on Facebook, before they added the ending date range, I had ads running for like 3 weeks without even noticing. It was just spending up budget, spending up ad spend, and it really wasn't performing. So you definitely want to stay stay up to date in terms of the campaigns you have rolling, the ad groups you have rolling. You really don't want to lose track of those. That's why I say keep them organized in terms of the campaign names, the ad group names. That way you can dial in on what's performing, understand what's performing, and implement and improve where you see fit.
And so you're just running this ad for the day, or
I didn't hear the last part.
sorry, you're spending $30 for the day, or is it 90 for the day since you have 3?
It'd be 90 for the day if I have 3 ad groups set up.
Okay.
Yes. So you can set your budget at what you would like. So for instance, TikTok will tell you to spend more than what you need to, mainly because, of course, it's an auction-based platform. They want your money. The more money you spend, the more money they get. But you really want to, keep a tight budget in terms of each product you're testing, mainly because you really don't want to get too attached to one product or too attached to one ad that's not working. If it's not performing, you kill it, move on to the next, either move on to the next creative in terms of content that you have for that product, or move on to the next product in general. So when it comes to your, if you have a website set up by MDM, you shouldn't have a problem with that in terms of the products you have on your store. They are based off of demand in the market at the moment in terms of high value products.
Yeah, I had my site done by MDM. It was like
Okay.
It's a home decor store. So
Okay.
just started posting 4 to 5 times a day. And there's some videos that did get a little bit of traction, but nothing like in the thousands of views, more like in the hundreds, like 700, 600.
Okay. That's usually, I would say, the case in terms of course, fresh accounts, as well as, fresh ad accounts, fresh content. When it comes to staying consistent, I would say after a month is where you see most of your traction start to come in, mainly because TikTok needs data. TikTok needs data in order to push your content to more potential customers.
Right. Okay. So with this being said, do you suggest I continue posting up until a month and then run some ads, or should I start testing already the ads with the highest view count, the video?
Yes. So you could run a Spark ads to that content. I will be going over that in the next phase of the campaign. But yes, if you do have content on your page already with good engagement or decent engagement, already has engagement on the video, you could run Spark ads to that. Spark ads is one of the better ways to get traction to your page initially as well. So for instance, like you said, you have that TikTok page set up, you're posting content each day. If you can run Spark ads through some of those videos, you can most likely go viral that way as well.
Got it.
Just pushing more traffic through your store. So for instance, you're paying for customers to see your ad. So they will see that ad, that will count as an impression, as a view, and it would just push the content more into the algorithm.
Got it. I guess the only not worry, but that I have is since it's a new TikTok page, my follower count is not up. And then for some reason, it won't allow me to put the actual link to my store. I just have to like type it out.
Yes. So about 6 months ago, TikTok did change that feature. Before, you could put a link in the bio, no matter how many followers you have. But nowadays, you have to have 1,000 followers minimum in order to put a link in your bio.
Got it. Okay.
But one way around that, I would say, is maybe create a Instagram around your product. Maybe post the same content you're posting on TikTok to Instagram.
That's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah.
Okay. That way you can link your Instagram in your TikTok bio. So for instance, if you have a CTA on your content, you could say, link in my Instagram bio. So click the link if you would like to buy.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes. So when it comes to day parting, this is more, I would say, specific in terms of maybe, let's see, you have sales coming in at a specific time, maybe more so 6 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m. You could do what's called day parting and have your ads show up at a specific time frame. me, I recommend just doing all that, mainly because when it comes to fresh ad accounts, fresh traffic, you don't have that data collected yet. You really don't know who's buying your product or at what time. I say after a couple weeks or months of understanding the platform, understanding TikTok as a whole, then I would go into maybe a day party. But for now, I would stick with all day. So
My bad for so many questions, bro. But
all good.
real quick, so you're just running this specific ad for one day.
Me for one day.
Is that correct? Or how many days are you doing this at one ad?
So when it comes to, let's see, the initial testing phase, there's a cycle that I like to go to in terms of, I like to go through in terms of analyzing a potential winning product. What I would do is have these testing phases, these cycles, depending on how much my budget is. So for instance, I had a budget at 100 a day. In between 2 to 3 days is that time frame of, determining whether or not this product is profitable. So for instance, after the second day, if you don't have hard zero sales, I would turn off that campaign or turn off that specific ad group that's not performing. When it comes to a lower ad group, a lower budget, it could be a little bit more lenient in terms of how many sales or how long you keep that campaign or that ad group active. So for instance, if your ad is performing, you don't have to turn it off. It will go into, you turn it off. So for instance, running an ad group continuously after the scheduled start time, if it's performing, you're seeing sales distributed to your store, then you can leave that on as long as it is performing. But if it's not performing, of course, what I would do is analyze the metrics. For instance, I'll go over that after the first ad is live, but determining whether or not the ad is profitable or not and moving forward based off of those metrics.
I have a question.
Yes.
By the way, Tony, those are all great questions. I'm glad you asked all of them. Is your name Sean or is it Jonathan?
Ja.
What is the average ad spend expected for profit? I think my understanding is like $70 in ad spend and $30 in profit or something like that. But can you give us some realistic expectations of how much you can make versus how much you have to spend to make any money?
Yes. So when it comes to those initial testing phases, they could vary in terms of when you could see those initial returns. But when it comes to, of course, season campaigns or season ad groups that you have running for a little while, the return on ad spend could be, something in the chat. But yes, the return on ad spend could be varying based off of, like you said, the budget, as well as how much you are putting in. So for instance, if I was spending 100 a day, I expect sales. I expect at least 2 to 3 sales in between this 2 to 3 day time frame. Also depends on the price point of your product. You could also determine your budget based off of that. So for instance, this product is $44.99. Excuse me. So for instance, this product is $44.99. Where'd you go? Yes. So for instance, that product is $44.99. I would run ads at 100 a day until I receive, I would say, 5 sales. So for instance, on that second day, like I said, if you have no sales, I cut that immediately, especially if you're doing 100 a day. In terms of $50 a day, I would say in between that third or fourth day, if you're still not seeing any sales, then I definitely will cut that off, mainly because you really don't want to be wasting ad spend on ads that aren't performing.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I guess what would you say is a good conversion rate of clicks to sales, right? Because let's say you're running an ad and you're getting clicks and you're getting visitors, at what point are you shoot, there's not any sales yet, something's up?
Yes, I was going to go after that right after this campaign was finished. but I can see, actually,
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead.
all good, all good, all good. I will go over that after this campaign is live. Just walk you through those metrics as well as, what they mean, how you can determine whether or not it's profitable or not, as well as the whole nine. I'm sorry, Catherine, that question you had before, did I answer your question?
Yeah, partially. There's one more part of it. For
Yes.
example, if we spend $1,000 a day
Okay.
on ad spend, what is the expected rate of profit from that average? I know different products have different profit margins, but are you willing to spend like $5,000 a day just to make $6,000? Or is that like too much or too little? When you're, scaling your business, what are you looking for how much you spend versus how much you're really trying to get back?
Okay, so yes, we have what's called a ROAS, which is a ROAS in terms of return on your ad spend. That is the number one metric we can use to track the profit margins as well as how your how your product is performing, whether it's overperforming or underperforming. So in terms of the ROAS, you want to be at around at least a 2 ROAS in terms of return on ad spend. So for instance, let's say we are, like you said, spending $100 a day. You want to have at least a $200 in terms of revenue coming in.
And of that $200, part of that is what the company is making, and you're only making a portion of that, correct?
Company, you mean by
Like
company?
if it's some little gadget, it costs $12 to ship it,
Okay,
and
let
you're
me use-
making $12 profit. So if you're making $200 in profit, you're only getting $100 for yourself.
Yes, so in
Correct.
terms of your suppliers, yes. So for instance, once you do make a sale on your store, for instance, let's say I got this product for, I believe, $6.99 from Zendrop. So Zendrop, manufactures the product as well as sends the product for a total of $10, I believe. So for instance, one sale on this store would be 4x what I got the product for, as well as the ad spend accumulated inside of the campaign as well. So for instance, let's say we're running these ads for $100 a day, and after the third day, maybe $300 has been spent, and I would say I expect at least $600 in terms of sales. So of course, $600 in sales, as well as the money that goes out to the suppliers for distributing on your products, as well as the money that's already taken out in terms of ad spend. There is a app on your store that you could use to accurately track your profits. That way you know that you're operating at a margin. Be Profit is a app you can use. Be Profit, profit calcs and reports. It goes off of the metrics on your store, how many sales you're getting, as well as the ad spend that you are spending. That way it tracks all of that. It puts together what's called your true profit, in terms of your true profit, how much you're actually making after after the distributor does his job, as well as after the ad spend.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, so next, was there any questions on that second phase in terms of setting up that ad group? No? Okay. So when it comes to your third phase of the ad group, this is where you would see, of course, setting up the creative as well as the CTA, and even Spark ads if you're looking to run those. So for instance, the gentleman, Tony, a couple minutes ago said he had content already posted on his page. If he was looking to run ads specifically through the content that's already posted, what you would do is under identity, it would say use TikTok account to deliver Spark ads. You would check that. And then what you would do is you would sign into that account that you have content posted on and specifically select which video right here. It would say post or TikTok post or video you would click that post that you have engagement already coming through. That way you're already capitalizing off of, you know, engagement that's already on your video. So for instance, if I was looking at a ad that had maybe 1,000 likes as opposed to a fresh ad from TikTok that had 0 likes, which one would you be more interested in? Which one would you have more trust in buying, I would say?
Yeah, the one with the higher view count.
Yes, sir. The one with the more engagement, the one that people are actually engaging with. So for instance, Spark Ads is one of the best features they added since TikTok Ads Manager came out. So for instance, using that content that people are already actively engaging with can add that extra social proof to, you know, potentially convert on a sale. So for instance, I'm not sure if you can see this, it may be too small, but for instance, as you can see, this video has 71K. If you were running Spark Ads to a video that has 71,000 likes, that would just be added social proof, added added trust that a customer could, you know, convert on your store with the trust that they're actually going to get their product. So when it comes to marketing, you really want to be at the mercy of the consumer, mainly perceiving your product around the fact that they need this product in their life. So for instance, if your product can, whether that's provide a transformation, provide convenience, any way you can up that perceived value in your content, it would distribute better traffic, higher quality traffic, as well as customers with buyer intent. So I do not have a organic content page set up for this specific page. So we will be running regular ads. But if, of course, you do have a content page on TikTok around your brand, you can run Spark Ads just by, you know, checking this, signing in, as well as clicking the video that you would like to run traffic through. So for instance, ad details, ad format, you can run multiple videos in one ad group, or you can do one video. What I recommend if you are running an ABO campaign, like I said, which is the ad group level, if you're running multiple ad groups, what I would do is split the content that you have up in between each ad group. That way you can analyze which ad or which creative is performing the best. So for instance, let's say you are outsourcing content to UGC creators, which are user generated content creators, creators who create content based around your product specifically, whether that's product reviews, unboxings, product utilizations, anything you can think of in terms of what you would see on TikTok. So for instance, when it comes to running your ads, you want an ad that doesn't seem like an ad. That's the beauty of marketing when it comes to distributing traffic to your store. You want marketing that doesn't feel like marketing. You want marketing that feels like you need this. So for instance, if we are whichever product you are running, whatever niche you are running, it is your job to, you know, up the perceived value based off of whether that's the offer, that's the content you are using to promote your ads, as well as the landing page set up for when a customer first clicks on your link. So when it comes to the ad name inside of the text, here you want to keep it, you know, short and sweet in terms of the call to action, in terms of the initial sale that may pique that initial interest in your customer. So for instance, you want that sale, that CTA to correlate with the CTA on your store. So for instance, the CTA we have set up is order now and save 50% plus free shipping. So that is what you want to, that's the urgency you want to create in your CTA. So for instance, inside of this text, we're going to keep it short and sweet. You only have 100 characters to do so. Word. So for instance, grab your meta hoop 50% off today only. Oops. So grab your meta hoop 50% off plus free shipping today only. So when it comes to today only, what that does is create urgency around your CTA, creating urgency around your product, meaning whether that's scarcity or urgency, either way could definitely be beneficial in terms of distributing traffic to your store. So what urgency does is activates and plays on that, what we call FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. So most customers, most viewers, most potential customers have that fear of missing out on a lifetime sale, deal of the year. And it's your job to perceive that value as, the value, deal of a lifetime. So for instance, grab your meta hoop for 50% off plus free shipping today only. Creating that urgency, as well as maybe even in your store, you could add what's called a countdown timer. This also creates urgency within your store, whether that's a sale or specific promotion. You can, create urgency around that factor to, increase that sale. So for instance, customer comes to your store and they see a countdown timer right here for maybe 4 hours and 36 minutes. They know if they don't buy now, that sale, the potential sale could be missed. For instance, fear of missing out. So when it comes to your sale, obviously your product is not on sale. This is just the price point you put it at. So for instance, once you do import products to your store, you can set it at a discount. So for instance, it could be on discount forever. But the potential customer doesn't know that. They just come to your store, see it's on discount for the next 4 hours, and they capitalize off that urgency and that scarcity. So when it comes, of course, the destination, this is the URL. Like I was saying, the URL is the landing page you want to use when it comes to distributing that traffic. So you want them straight to the landing page. That way it's no friction, smooth process in terms of they came here to see what they saw in the ad and convert on what they saw in the ad. Excuse me. Yes, so the landing page, you want the app events. You don't have an app. When it comes to the website events, you want to make sure that pixel that you have set up is selected. So it's tracking the TikTok events. These two you can leave, you can leave blank. When it comes to checking the box, you agree for the ad and the associated performance metrics of the campaigns would be displayed in the TikTok Business Creative Center. So you can leave this unclicked, mainly because you really don't want to see, like I said, competitors seeing your ads, competitors seeing your creatives. If you would have clicked this, it would show up in the Creative Center where, e-commerce entrepreneurs lurk in hopes of finding new winning products. So for instance, they come over to whether it's the top ads dashboard, as well as the trends. I'm sorry if that was loud, but it shows up with products and potential products based off of demand in the industry at the moment. So for instance, likes, duration, objective, you can search up products or keywords as well. But when it comes to having this checked, I would have that not checked. So this would be the end of setting up that initial campaign. Here you would hit submit. So after you hit submit, your ad would be live. So once you do that, you can come back over to campaigns, see the ad you just, set up. When it comes to TikTok, you have about a couple hours before your ad are actually live and actually delivering, mainly because it's in review in terms of making sure it's not going against any policies, going against the terms and conditions, and so forth and so forth. So for instance, campaign, this is where your campaign would be in terms of the campaign you just set up, as well as the ad groups. So when it comes to setting up multiple ad groups, here under Waste Trainer, you could hit what's called copy. So on Facebook, it's called duplicate, but on TikTok, it is called copy. What this does is copy the ad groups that you just, ad groups that you just set up. That way it's duplicating more copies into the campaign. So for instance, like I was saying, we will run 2 copies. 3 ad groups at 90 a day. So we'll have 2 copies of the ad group that we just set up. So as I was saying, in the first ad group we had was called targeting. We were targeting those specific niches, those specific interests based around the niche that we were looking to sell in. If you were looking to set up, like I was saying, 2 broad as well as 1 interest, you could do that. When it comes to editing the second ad groups, I'm going to keep most of this the same, unless you coming in, of course, to the targeting. You can bring that to automatic targeting. What that would do is just show your product to anybody who has a TikTok account. No specific targeting. As well as the budget, if you want to run different ad groups at different budgets, you can do that. But I like to keep it the same. That way, spending the same, you can analyze side by side which one is performing the best. Of course, next day, 12 o'clock. Okay. Conversion. Next. So as I was saying, if you have outsourced content from professional content creators, meaning you have multiple content you could use inside of these ad groups, let's say, for instance, if you had 3 ad groups, what I would do is switch up the content to analyze, which creatives are working the best, which one you can push your ad budget through. For instance, which one is performing well. So for instance, you can switch up the CTA as well if you would like to, split testing to see if the CTA, split testing to see if the CTA is different, to see if that it boosts performance or not. There's a couple different ways you can analyze that. So for instance, make sure everything is good. So that would be duplicating the second ad group. So like I said, 1 was for interest and 2 was for broad. So that duplicated both of those ad groups. So for instance, now you have 3 ad groups that are live. And if you want to, of course, go into that 3rd ad group, it duplicated the ad group by itself. If you were looking to go in and switch up, whether it's the content, the interest, you can do that. So custom targeting, automatic targeting, like I said, we'll have 2 that's targeting broad and 1 that is targeting specifically niches. So
we're gonna run 1 ad group. Do we just leave it as custom, or we just do it as the other option?
So custom would be dialing into those specific interests and niches, and the other option would be broad. So if you have 1 ad group live, I do recommend broad.
Broad. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. All right.
Yes. So for instance, you now have 3 ad groups live. Once you come into those ad groups and they are delivering in terms of actually spending your budget, here is where you will see the metrics based off of how your ad is performing. So for instance, you can have the default columns, or you can set up the custom columns. Having these custom columns set up will, help you analyze, specific metrics, based off of how your ad is performing. So for instance, we have the CPC, CPMs, impressions, clicks, CTRs, and then conversion, CPA. So these are the default. So the specific columns you can set up based off of, performance on how you would like to, track that. So for instance, these are video plays. For instance, people watch 6 seconds of your ad, 50% of your ad, 75% of your ad, watch the whole ad. You can dial in on specifically who and how long people have, watched your ad. That way, for instance, if you were looking to retarget in the future, for instance, like say 3-4 weeks down the road, if you were looking to retarget those customers who watch 50% or 100% of your ad, I mean, customers who are, more interested based off of how long they watch. So for instance, if they watch 100 or 50, you can retarget to them in the future. I will be going over that next class. But yes. So complete payment ROAS, complete payment. add to cart, initiate checkout. These are the ones that I would have checked in terms of metrics you can look at, as well as online event, purchase ROAS, initiate checkout, add to cart. Purchases. There we go. So confirm that. This out the way real quick. Got it. So when it comes to all of those columns you just set up, it will show up on these ad groups that you have set up. So for instance, once these are delivering and it is coming up with in terms of the ads that you are running, it will show you exactly how much each ad group is spending. Excuse me. As well as the CPC, which is the cost per click. So this is the average amount of money you are spending on one click. So in terms of one person being sent to your store, I'd say in between 30 cents and $1 is where you want to be at in terms of that average cost per click. Anything over $1, that's pushing it. That's pushing it. So in terms of the CPM, this goes hand in hand with the impressions. So for instance, the impressions is how many people specifically saw your ad. And the CPM is the average amount of money you spent per 1,000 impressions. So for instance, if I have 500,000 impressions and my campaign spent $50, the CPM, what would that be? $10, a buck? Math's kind of off right now. But yes, it would be the average amount per impressions. Excuse me. So of course, the clicks is the amount of people who clicked on your store in terms of who directly clicked your link and on your landing page. And this directly goes hand in hand with the click-through rate as well as the impressions. So for instance, let's say you have 500,000, let's say you have 1,000 impressions and you had 10 clicks. That means your click-through rate would be, what's that, 1%? Yes, about 1%. When it comes to your click-through rate, you want to hover in between that, I would say 3 to 10% rate. In between 3 to 10%, that means I would say your product or the creative you're using in terms of the ad is somewhat valuable in terms of it's a good ad. I mean, it's a good enough ad to continue using in terms of testing. So anything under 3%, you know that's a problem with the ad. So for instance, these metrics can allow you to determine what part of your funnel is lacking. So for instance, if you have a low CTR rate, that means you have a problem with the content you're using. So for instance, the content you're using may needs to be improved, maybe go with a different creator. If you're shooting the content yourself, you want to, incorporate CTAs based off of, the product, maybe the perceived value around the product as well. Inside of the course, I go over that. But like I said, when it comes to the CTR, that is the determination of, whether or not your content is up to par. So for instance, anything under 3%, you know that you have a problem with your content. As well as, conversions, pretty straightforward. The amount of people who are converting on your store, meaning how many people purchase your product based off of the ad they seen. Yes, as well as the CPA. So the CPA is the average amount of money you spent on a conversion. So for instance, this should be nowhere near, saying nowhere near what your product cost would be. So for instance, CPA, if you have a CPA of, I say my product is $44.99, I'm getting it for $12. You really don't want I would say you really don't want your CPA over how much it costs to source your product, mainly because if you're in that range, you're close to operating at a deficit. And you really don't want to be operating at a deficit when it comes to running your ads. At this point, you would like to cut the ad. So for instance, the result, this would be the result, of course, of your campaign event, whatever you have it set up as. So for instance, we have it as add to cart. if we had 10 add to carts today after this campaign was live, it would show up as 10. We also have purchase campaigns. So for instance, we had 10 people buy our product, it would show up as 10. So CVR would be the conversion rate in terms of the amount of people, I would say the rate of people who convert on your product. So in between, like I was saying, 3 to 5% is I would say average rate in terms of nationwide. When it comes to the average Shopify store, anything over 7% is excellent. That means you're working at a consistent profit margin. Your impressions are high, your click-through rates are high. Anything 7% or above, that's when you know you found a winning product to scale through. So anything under 1% after the first couple of days of the testing phase, anything under 2%, I would say, after the first couple of days of the testing phase, that's when I would say you would have a problem within your funnel. So like I was saying earlier, there is a 4-piece part of your funnel in terms of converting on a potential sale. You have the content, is what the customer sees initially. That is the utmost important part of your funnel, mainly because if you don't have good content revolving around your product, it's less likely you will be getting someone to click on your link. So for instance, content is the number one piece of the funnel, as well as the next piece would be the landing page. So for instance, the landing page, the customer sees directly after clicking on your link. So if you have a low CTR, a low CVR, if you have a low CVR, that could be direct problems with your landing page. Maybe you need to improve the landing page. Go over your product calls or the landing page in terms of maybe adding stuff, maybe improving it based off of whether it's product reviews, photo reviews, maybe a better description, or if you have no conversions, it may be because your site isn't live yet. So when it comes to running your first ad, you want to run a test order on your store just to make sure your store is live. It can actually accept orders, mainly because I was working with a client back in 2021. He was running a jewelry store. He had spent, I believe, over 100 in ad spend in the first couple of days, and he had no sales. He came to me wondering why he had no sales. I asked him, did he run a test order on the store? And he said he didn't. He said he forgot to. And the checkout option, it wasn't even live yet. So we had a lot of traffic distributed into his store, but he did not receive any sales, mainly because, of course, the checkout option wasn't working. So when it comes to before you run your first ads, you want to make sure your store is live, whether that's removing the password protection on your store, as well as after you purchase your Shopify plan and your domain. After that, your store will be live, and running that initial test order could, make sure all of your checkouts, your landing pages is functioning perfectly. Was any questions on this whole TikTok ads breakdown process, metrics, store, anything before we wrap up?
Is this gonna be saved? Can we go back and look at this?
Yes, this is recorded.
Okay, I know you covered a lot. I just want to kind of go after we're done, go back and kind of run my own ad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, where do we go to get this recording later? Because I'm definitely gonna need to go back through this.
Yes. So what I could do, are you all inside the Discord?
I don't think I am.
You don't
I
think you
don't
are?
think I am either.
No. Okay.
I have a couple of questions when you're done with that.
Okay. Yes. So what I could do is, once it's finished recording, I could upload it to YouTube, and you can place your emails inside of the chat, and I can send you the link to once the recap is uploaded to the YouTube.
So put our email in the chat.
Yes.
Okay. And this doesn't need to be recorded. It's a question about the whole general system. Do we have a Facebook support group that we're all in, or that I could join? And I'm under the impression that we get a once a week call with somebody for coaching.
This call would fall under that coaching call once a week.
Yeah, for sure. This is awesome. Somebody, Elijah, or I can't remember who. Okay, here's another question then. Is there a way to get one-on-one coaching through MDM? Of course, we would pay extra, or I would pay extra. A way to kind of get off the ground if you're sort of stuck?
Yes, I do believe MDM offers, one-on-one mentorships. I believe were you in contact with in terms of the initially signing up?
Initially Leo, and then after that I talked to Ermela.
Okay. Okay. Are you still in contact with Leo?
I do have his text. Yeah.
Okay. So you could reach out to him if you were looking to go that direction in terms of more one-on-one help. He could point you in the direction of that.
Okay, I'll reach out to him. Who's Elijah?
I'm Elijah.
Oh, okay. This is the one. Then you are the one-on-one coaching. Okay, that's cool. And then what about a group? To be in touch with Tony, Sebastian, Stephanie, Maya. How do we stay in touch and kind of support each other?
Yes, so we do offer the Discord. It should be a part of the package. I'm pretty sure. I would have to get with Hancho on that. But
Yeah,
inside of
if
this,
you reach out to Leo, Catherine, if you reach out to Leo and let him know that you want access to the Discord, he should be able to send you a link so that you can jump on that. So the Discord is kind of the version of the Facebook group you're looking for, where we all can like communicate with each other, ask questions. There's coaches in there and they do live trainings in there too.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, everybody.
yes, ma'am. Great. Was there any more questions before we wrap up soon?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So like how many creatives do you think are testing out to like know which ones are like doing good? Like, do you suggest starting out with like 3 or like 10? Because I think Hunter said like 10, and then out of those 10, see which ones are doing good, and then put money behind those.
Yes, when it comes to creatives, like I said, it's the most important part of your funnel in terms of distributing traffic to your store. I would say there's no set amount of creatives you could have, whether it's you shooting the content yourself or professional content creation being created for you. I say there's no limit on how much content you can test, mainly because you want to be introducing new creatives into your campaigns anyway, especially when you're scaling up.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like, what about on the ads? Like, how many ads should I start off with to know how many are actually doing good?
So if you were running a CBO, I recommend 5 ad groups, but today we had set up an ABO. I recommend 3 ad groups inside of an ABO.
Oh, okay.
Was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me.
Amazing coaching today,
Thank you.
John. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, so I will get this. Matter of fact, I will write down all of these emails before I leave. Yes, so this recap will be uploaded to YouTube. I will be sending the link to the email of people who sent it in the chat. That way you can recap once that is live. Kind of
Yeah,
went a
'cause,
little.
like,
Go ahead.
somewhere during the way, I was like, dang, I should really be following along in TikTok. And then I went to TikTok and you were already like way steps ahead. I was like, shoot, I'm gonna need to watch this again.
Okay, I get you. Yes, so these will be posted as well as the rest of the classes. I'm not sure if the recent classes were posted. I know Hancho did one as well as theory. I'm not sure if those were posted, but the ones that I do will be posted.
Is this a link for every week or does it change every week? 'Cause I know last week I couldn't get on.
I'm honestly not too sure. So for me, it's the same link. For you all, it may not be. You may be receiving links before the class start each week. But for me as the host, it is the same link.
Anybody else have a?
Yeah, I couldn't get on last week either. This is my first time on, so yeah, for some reason I don't know if there was a meeting last week, but I couldn't get in.
Yeah, I think we all emailed each other, Tony. I recall your email name.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I believe Huncho ran the last class. I was out of town at the time with a family member.
So these happen every week though? This will be a weekly thing?
Yes, as well as inside of the Discord, coaching calls weekly as well.
Okay, so just get with Leo on that and he should be able to get us into that Discord.
Yes.
Cool.
And when is the Discord coaching call? Is it the same time every week?
Yes, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Mondays, Wednesdays.
Okay. Monday, Wednesday, Sunday.
Yes.
Wow, so that's a lot of coaching. I gotta get on with that. I need all the help.